Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you're joining us today from Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University, coming to you from Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University. Thank you for joining us in this live lecture. And today's date is Oye Market Day in the Igbo calendar. And it is very important we go back to our lunar calendar. That is what we're supposed to be using in our land, in Igbo land, in Biafra land, and in the whole of Africa. Because even in Nigeria, the Fulani and Hausa people that practice the Muslim religion, they also use the lunar calendar. That is, sometimes during the Salah, you see them saying they want to see the moon. They want to see the moon. They are using lunar calendar. And today's date is Oye Market Day. And in the Roman Catholic calendar, today's date is 6/19/2025. And remember that at Nkolo Mahadum, we always advise you to use your naturally given common sense, which we call in Igbo land, in Igbo language, Akonuche. And Nkolo Mahadum was set up to decolonize your mind, your brain from mental slavery, the way you reason. Because all this time, the Western European colonizers have always presented images and educate you, give you misinformation and miseducation so that you cannot reason, so they can be following them. That's why we want to bring you back to your natural state, your natural thinking, so that you understand that you are making great error each time you are following the colonial way and not your own way. And the title of this lecture is Mazi Nnamdi Kanu Trial, the analysis of 6/18 yesterday and today, and what is next. We want to inform you what transpired yesterday in the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu trial and what also happened today, the 19th, and then what is to come in future. And why are we so much interested in the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu trial? We are so much interested because now Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is trying to dismantle the colonial boundary, the artificial boundaries drawn by the Western colonizers in Berlin in 1884 to 1885. That is what he's trying to dismantle, because dismantling that colonial boundary will stop all the wars, all the poverty, all the migration, all the killings, all the hunger, all the poverty in Africa. So it is very, very, very important that all peace-loving Africans that wants Africa to be better than any other race, any other continent, to support what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is fighting for. That is why we are interested in his cases. That's why we are presenting them, bringing them to you, so that you will also understand how that case is going. And yesterday, 6/18/25, everybody was seated. The presiding judge, Judge James Omotosho, was seated, and the prosecuting counsel, Ademoyega Awomolo, was present, in addition to the defense counsel defending Mazi Nnamdi Kanu Agabi. All of them sang. They were all present. And the cross-examination of the fourth witness continued that yesterday. Witness PW4, which means the fourth witness, DDD. It continued yesterday. And like we explained to you last time, the prosecutor and the witness is working together, because the prosecutor called witnesses to come and build their case to help them to convict Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And so they are working together. So each time the prosecutor is asking the witness question, he is asking a question that will help them to convict Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And also the witness, which they call, is trying to say something to answer the question in such a way that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will be convicted. That is what is going on. And so immediately the prosecution started to ask the witness, which they brought, the DSS witness, the fourth one. And the question goes like this: what do you have to say about the transmitter, which is in the evidence in content before this court? He was trying to ask the witness to say something more about that transmitter. Remember that transmitter they say they found at Mazi Benjamin Nabugu house, Benjamin Madibugu house at Isibiluzo. That transmitter, that's what the prosecutor continued to ask him. And the witness said, based on my observation, it is understood that the equipment was intended to be used for broadcasting. He said that that transmitter is intended to be used by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu for broadcasting. Also, before importing a transmitter into Nigeria, you must first obtain approval, but it wasn't obtained. And he also said that before anybody brings in, imports transmitter from outside country to inside Nigeria, they have to have approval, they have to have permits. But in this case, that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu didn't have the permit before he brought in the transmitters. Next question, prosecution. Who is the owner of the transmitter? Witness. I can confirm that the defendant is the owner of the transmitter. He said that he can confirm that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is the owner of the transmitter. How can you confirm that Mazi Nnamdi is the owner of the transmitter? Why it is not registered? It is not, there's nothing linking him. His name is not on it. So how can you say that you are sure that it is him that owned that transmitter? Then he continued, go to Vanguard publication dated July 3rd, 2023. You will see the detailed news. So the witness is saying even the Vanguard newspaper carried the news in detail, that if you go there, you will see everything that happened about the transmitter and the Nnamdi Kanu in the publication of Vanguard newspaper of July 3rd, 2023. Prosecution continued with the question. If you see the Vanguard publication, will you be able to recognize it? Yes, I will, the witness said. So the prosecution wants to tell the court, if the witness sees that Vanguard publication, whether the witness will recognize that Vanguard newspaper. And the witness says yes. Now, at this time, the defense counsel objects the tendering of the newspaper publication. So the prosecution and the witness brought in that Vanguard newspaper to the court to be presented as an exhibit. So, but the defense counsel said no, that newspaper should not be tendered, should not be brought to the court. At that point, the presiding judge, James Omotosho, overruled the defense objection and received that Vanguard newspaper as evidence, as an exhibit. When you see exhibit means evidence, physical evidence. That's what exhibit means. That's part of what transpired in that court on that day. And then they continued on that day. So this first part is about the transmitter and how the prosecution brought the newspaper, Vanguard newspaper, that also carried the news and tendered them as evidence. Another important thing that happened on yesterday was the question about the question about the NBC coming to inspect that transmitter. So the prosecution team brought in some documents which were rejected by the courts, but they brought a report from the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, NBC. So, and then the prosecution started to ask the witness again and say, can you identify this document, the document from the report from the Nigerian Broadcasting Service, which came to corporation, which came to inspect the transmitter? Can you identify this document? Witness, yes. NBC came over to examine the transmitter at the DSS headquarters after Mazi Nnamdi Kanu brought in the transmitter. He said that after Mazi Nnamdi Kanu brought the transmitter, they called in the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation to come and inspect the transmitter. So he said yes, that was from NBC. Then the judge interfered and said, does the defense team have anything to say with regard to the documents from NBC? The judge was asking the defense whether they have any problem using the report from Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation as an evidence, as an exhibit. And the defense said, we have no objection to the NBC report that the prosecution intends tendering to the court. So the defense said there's no problem. They should receive it as an exhibit. So the court admits the NBC report as an exhibit. They accepted it, that NBC. So the two things that happened yesterday mainly is the admission, the acceptance of the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation inspection of the transmitter, and also the report from the Vanguard newspaper, which they also tendered. So that was the two major things that occurred yesterday, and the case was adjourned to today, 19th. And in today's trial, DSS was everywhere in the courtroom. Many things that happened in the court could not come out, but everybody was present. The presiding judge, Omotosho, the prosecution counsel, Awomolo, the defense counsel, Agabi, all of them were there with their teams. And then the federal government brought in the fifth witness. That fifth witness was marked PW EEE, the fifth witness brought by the federal government. And shortly, he was being interrogated, examined by the defense counsel. A lot of things couldn't come out today because the DSS was all over the courtroom. People cannot video what is going on. People cannot record what was going on like that to make it public like every other time. So, but this was the fifth witness, which was marked PW5 as number 5 witness, identified as EEE, was examined. Who examined him was one of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's defense lawyers, Onyechi Ikpeazu, son. And then after the examination, the cross-examination, asking him a lot of questions, the prosecution lead counsel, the one leading the prosecution for the federal government, Awomolo San, informed the court that the 5 witnesses they called is enough, and that the prosecution is satisfied with all the cases they have presented so far to the court, and that they are bringing their case to the end. You can remember that from the beginning of the trial, both witnesses 1, 2, and 3, many of the questions that they asked them, they were all saying either I don't know, or I can't remember, I don't know, I can't remember. So they say they are satisfied with everything they have presented and that they're closing their case. So at that point, the lead counsel of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, which is Kanu Agabi, told the court that he will present for a no case submission. That during the next trial, he will present what they call no case submission. And we want to explain to you what no case submission means. No case submission means that the defense team of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is saying that there is nothing tangible, there's nothing to validate, there's nothing to support the conviction of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in this case, that the defense, the prosecution team didn't present anything to convict their client. And so they are presenting a no case submission, which means this no case submission means that the judge should just rule based on what the prosecution team have presented. The judge will just rule that there's no case in this matter, that Nnamdi Kanu has no case, that he should be released and discharged and acquitted, whatever language you want to use to free him from detention, exonerate him, remove him from all the trial, that the federal government, the prosecution team doesn't have any case. So at that point, the judge gave the defense team led by Agabi 14 days to prepare for and submit that no case submission. He gave them 14 days and also gave the prosecution counsel to write a counter on that no case to say why the case must continue. Okay, so this is how that the court of today came to an end, and it was adjourned to July 18, 2025. So this brings to an end how the trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu went yesterday, 6/18/25, and today, 6/19/25. And we at Nkolom Hadum is still maintaining that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu have no case to answer, because the federal government, first of all, Nnamdi Kanu didn't break any law. Self-determination is enshrined in the UN and African Charter, and Nigeria is a signatory to that. And Nnamdi Kanu didn't commit any crime. In the first trial, in this transmitter issue or no transmitter issue in 2015 or 2014, Nnamdi Kanu was preparing to go to court in Abuja before the Nigerian security people went to his house to kill him. And they killed 28 people. And he escaped and ran away, saving his life. They came to kill him. Why will you go and kill somebody that was getting ready to attend his court trial? And he escaped. And now they went to Kenya and break international law and rendition him by force without following the due process into Nigeria. And since then, have kept him into solitary confinement. And so Nigeria doesn't have any case against him. And no wonder the defense team have agreed with us that even all these witnesses and all the drama that have been going on in the Federal High Court, Abuja, the defense team have now reached our own conclusion also that they will submit a no case submission. There's no case in this thing. There's no case. You're just wasting the people's resources. You're just suffering Mazi Nnamdi Kanu because the Biafran people, the Igbo people, are being marginalized and maltreated in the geographical location makeup of Nigeria. If not, he has no case. Release him. We are calling on the federal government. We are calling on the UN. If UN is anything to say about our people, to make sure that this man is released so he can go home and stay with his family. And with this, we shall be bringing today's lecture to an end. And before we end it, I have to advise you to support the dismantling of all the colonial boundaries in Africa. But those are the sources of the poverty, migration, the wars, the underdevelopment, the disease, and everything that is going on in our land. And with this, please join us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and other social media platforms, so that anytime we produce a new lecture, you will be the first to get it. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a good one. Thank you. Bye-bye.